Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network. GABNET's creator and founder, Alex Bennett, is always looking for ways to stay on the cutting edge. He first revolutionized commercial radio. He built a career on being one of the first to speak to the new generation of the 60s. Then he reinvented himself on morning drive radio, where he was the first to use a live studio audience and guest comedians each morning. Another ratings winner. Next, Alex took off for outer space as he brought his unique perspective on politics and news to the satellites. Always a pioneer, his next stop was to create a unique format that no one else had ever done, with citizen panels on the internet. What's next? Is there any place left to innovate? Are there any stones left unturned? Introducing GABNET Live on Roku. That's right, GABNET Live on Roku. No lies, because you can't lie on the internet. GABNET is now available on your TV. You can listen to GABNET's 24/7 network stream or browse your favorite GABNET shows from the archives, just like on GABNET.net. But that's not all. You can also watch video of Alex's archived live stream TV programs, as well as his televised Friday night Ramble. It's all there for you, and all you have to do is turn on your Roku device, search the Roku store for GABNET Live, and add the channel to your lineup. Then sit back and enjoy. It's GABNET Live on Roku. Thanks, Alex. GABNET needs you. Yes, GABNET needs you to call our live programs and be a part of the citizen panels. It's the most innovative talk format yet, because it's not just one caller, it's a group of callers interacting with the hosts at the same time. Here's how you do it. It's simple. First, download Skype at skype.com. To install it, answer 4 simple questions: first name, last name, email address, and your choice of ID. Then launch Skype, go to Add Contacts, type in GABNET Live, and ask to be made a contact. Then you're ready to be on the citizen panel. If you're too lazy, well, you can always call on the phone at 347-352-0079. That's 347-352-0079. For all the information and a call button for Skype, log on to GABNET.net. At the bottom of the page, you'll find a video on how to call us and how to use GABNET. It couldn't be easier. It couldn't be more fun and exciting. We're new. We're different. But we need you to call. So for crying out loud, call, or we'll kill this dog. Don't worry, Fluffy. They won't let you die. I'm not kidding. Call or Fluffy gets it. Oopsie.
Hi, everybody. This is Alex Bennett, and I've had a long and interesting trip. It's called life. And for years, people have demanded that I write a book about it, and while I've been a writer, my main talent has always been that of a broadcaster. Over a year ago, I decided not to write the book, but using my best skill, I decided to tell it. It's called Life in the Passing Lane, and I described it as an audio biography. It's presented in 30-minute chapters, so it's easy to binge listen. And you can access it on the GABNET page by clicking on Life in the Passing Lane and going to a page with every single episode, plus some extras. If you want to access it on your mobile device, that's easy too. It's on iTunes. It's Life in the Passing Lane, an audio biography by me. I'm Alex Bennett.
You can listen to the Great American Broadcast Network for its engaging conversation or its entertaining hosts. Or you can just listen and play the GABNET drinking game. Is Phil Meyer right or wrong?
I was looking at the headlines. I guess Britain is going to die a strange death.
Wrong. Drink.
The Chinese are building up a drone warfare army ready to attack.
Wrong. Drink.
The financial health is overstated in the year 2000.
Wrong. Drink.
Bengali wants human remains. Now, I did read that article, and they want to talk to Hillary Clinton's aides.
Wrong. Drink. The Great American Broadcast Network. Come for the facts, or twist open a bottle and just have a good time. Gabnet.net, a tune-in partner. Drink responsibly.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is Gabnet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
And we sing. Everybody, how are you? I'm Alex Bennett, and this here is the Ramble, and it goes on until midnight Eastern Time in the United States of America. That would be on the East Coast of the United States. So no matter where you are in this world of ours, just accommodate for that, and you can tell whether we're live or not. If not, it's a recording, but that's fine too. We run all our programming 24/7 on our so-called network. So tonight I have no guest, okay? It's just me and you and me blabbing for maybe the next 25 minutes or so. I may have nothing to say, in which case, fuck all y'all, you know? Here's something I was thinking of, though. See, over here on a monitor that I have here, I have the actual video that's running and how it's going out to the people out there via YouTube. And, you know, I got to tell you something. I've watched this. We've been doing this, with YouTube for a month and a half or so, okay? And that particular thing has never fucked up. I'm telling you the truth, folks. It's never screwed up. I watch it, and it is solid as a rock. And that's what we love about YouTube. Also the fact that I can just click a button here and it starts the whole thing and you start getting it, okay? And that makes it fun too. There's one other factor that we have that's very hard for me to pay attention to, because here in front of me I've got the Skype screen along with the thing that makes me do the TV called OBS, Open Source Broadcasting System, I think it's called. OBS Studio. It's free if you ever want it and play with it. Go get it online. I thoroughly recommend it. And that piece of stuff goes out over, you know, sends it to YouTube. And all of this is very smooth, but I have to watch this screen, okay? So going over to this screen is a little bit more difficult, and it takes me away from looking at that screen. Well, when I've got a citizen panel on, we're fine. But what I don't get to see, and it is a very important part of our feed, is the fact that there is a chat room. Okay, and you can add your discussion to the chat room. People are chatting all the time. We have Renee's on there right now. Mike is on there right now. Ruku, okay, thank you. And Ruku says, "A great hat, Alex. Thank you very much." And Renee is saying, "Aloha to Roku. I like." His China hat too. No, this is not my the other one, the one that's with the star on it, the Red Army cap. Yeah, I like that cap. That's my favorite cap. I'd wear that outside. Only some people might kill me for wearing it, so I don't. But anyway, so I've got the chat room, and it's hard for me. People are having an ongoing discussion. Occasionally, I will see something, but it requires me to look over here. Okay, and sometimes I'm just not paying attention to that. I'm paying attention to the show that I'm doing. So what I thought I would do tonight is I have like 20 minutes right now, and I have nothing to talk about. Absolutely nothing to talk about. So if you want to go on to that chat room, and by the way, if you're just listening to us with audio, you can go over to gabnet.net, and the picture is running there. But wait a minute, the chat room doesn't run there. That's right, the chat room doesn't run. Oh, well. Go to, let's see here, youtube.com/Bolo Bennett, BOLOBENNETT /live. and then you will get the page. And that's a page, by the way, you should bookmark, because as long as that is, if every time you put on your browser and stuff, it's there waiting. Okay. In fact, if you go over there, it'll have a countdown till the next show and so on. And then when the show goes on, it automatically starts. So if you have it bookmarked, you don't even have to worry about it. But if you go to that, youtube.com/Bolo Bennett, BOLOBENNETT /live, you will then get to see the chat room, which is running right now. And Renee says, hey, Rocco, call up and tell us how to pronounce your name. That would be a good idea. Thank you, Renee. I'm glad you said that. And she says, yes, the Red Army hat. Love that hat. Yeah, it's my favorite. Anyway, so I just thought, since I have nothing to do, it says, take notice, Alex. Make sure to tell the people to turn their clock ahead on Saturday night. I didn't know we had to turn our clock ahead on Saturday night. Is it that time again? Didn't we just turn it back the other way? Now we're turning it the other way again? Oh, boy. You know, I'm so happy for electronics because with the age of electronics, most of our clocks change themselves. If I leave this room, I come back the next morning, all the clocks on the computers are right. But there's always a clock somewhere that you forgot to turn, right? The microwave, you got to set that. I don't know of any microwaves that have, maybe they do now, but microwaves usually don't have automatic. And I have a stove, that needs a clock change. And my Keurig coffee maker needs it. Let me see, is there anything else I need to do? Oh, yeah, there's a big clock we've had. A girlfriend went and got this big clock in the bedroom, a digital clock, a digital readout. And it's there. And every year we have to change the time on that clock to go ahead or backward, okay? And that's cool, except for the fact that every year we forget how you do it with this damn thing, because you got to push buttons and you got to make lights flash, and they make the next one. It's misery. And then there's another difficult one in here. So there are about 5-6 clocks we got to do, even though none of them are automatic. And I'm glad I changed the clock radio, although there I just had to flip a switch to go from daylight to standard. And then the worst part is I keep writing the standard time on my checks. No, I keep, then on the show here, it took me 3 months to get used to saying Eastern Standard Time, and now I have to go back to saying Eastern Daylight Time. Forget it. You know, it's all getting to be too much. Anyway, so, thank you for reminding me of that. Now, what I thought I would do is, if you want to write something on this chat, ask me a question, something like that, I can answer some of them right now, and that would let me blow the next, 15 minutes before we go to the citizen panel. So that would be a lovely thing for you to do. Let me also say, if you're listening and you're watching, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. People subscribing to it has slowed down because I stopped reminding people. But let me nudge you to go in. Tell all your friends, even if they don't want to watch it. Just go to the Alex Bennett channel. Just put Alex Bennett in search in YouTube, and then it'll take them to a little picture of me in a circle. Click on that, and it takes you to something. On that page, it says subscribe. Just tell them to subscribe. Tell them they don't ever have to listen, okay? I don't care. Just subscribe, because if I get the numbers, I get Swell gives some prizes from YouTube. But since I was late into this game, I should have. If I had been doing this while I was doing the radio thing, I'd have 5,000 by now. But because everybody has forgotten where the hell Alex Bennett went, it changes. Let me take some pills here. I want to take a couple of ibuprofen. My leg is hurting me tonight for some reason. So let me just take these. Anyway, where am I? Okay, so let me see if there are any questions. And please share this broadcast too, she adds, says Renee. Yes, you can share it. You can. There's when you play it, there's a thing that says share, and you can share it to a friend's site or page or whatever. Just spread it around. Renee says, where can I get a China Star hat too? Well, the same place I did, China. So that's where I bought it. I imagine you could find it somewhere here, but I got mine when we were in China, along with the Obama as a red soldier shirt that I sometimes wear on the program here. Mike Wright says, Alex, is it still snowing in New York? No, that stopped about the middle of last night. And I didn't even go out today because it was just a slushy mess. You know, it was one of those snows that's just no fun because it was just nothing but turning into nothing but slush. It wasn't warm. It wasn't cold enough to stick to the ground in a snow-like form. So it was one giant icy out there, one giant Slurpee, you know. And I hate that. Because it really makes, and then I walked in it and it was snowing and it was miserable. I have a video of it that, by the way, I posted. Let me tell you this, okay? So we do these shows, right? And I get some people who will watch it while it's on, you know, and then I post it to YouTube, and I post it to my, what do you call it, channel, my Facebook page. On the Facebook page, you get maybe 80, 90 people who watch any given video any given day, and over on the other 100 and some odd, you know, it's not a lot. So yesterday, because it was snowing like batshit out there, I figured I would go into the bedroom, turn the system on there, and do a Facebook Live of just a camera out the window watching the snow. Now, nothing's happening. It didn't move. Snow was just coming down. That's all there was to it. All right? That was the picture. All right? As of right now, let me go and check it. You're not going to believe this, you know. And this begins to make me wonder if I'm doing the right thing here. Yeah. Right now, as of a little more than 24 hours later, 704 people watch the snow video. All right? Yes. I then went out into the snow. This is all on my Facebook page. And I walked in. I didn't do this live. I just walked in the snow as it was coming down to show people how miserable it was, right? It goes for about, I don't know, minute and a half, 2 minutes. 311 views, right? Meanwhile, last night, Larry King, 89 views. You know, so here's what I'm wondering. Is it worth it to do these 2 hours every night? Or should I just, like when it rains, just stick a camera out the window and take a shot of that continually for 2 hours? And I guess it'll get more viewers than this show gets. So I'm thinking of other things to do, like maybe get a bucket of paint and then brush a wall and then put a camera on it and let you watch paint dry. Now, I may try that one day, just for the hell of it. I'll get something to, like a canvas or something, and we'll put some paint on it, and then I will put the camera on it, and you can watch paint dry. It will be the paint dry channel. I'll bet it gets more people. I bet you it gets more people than are watching this show. All right? So I don't know. What am I doing wrong? That's the question. I come in here for 2 hours. I try to be pithy and have a good commentary and an interesting kind of situation with the citizens panel, which hasn't been done in broadcasting before. And snow falling gets me 700 viewers. All right? So go figure. And by the way, when it was running, I was up to like 400 viewers watching it while it was, I don't know if they're just sitting there going, huh? Wow. Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a channel on YouTube called The Very Slow Channel. And it's just going to be nothing but slow stuff, like watching paint dry, as an example. You know, I think it could do very well, to be honest with you. Let's see here. It says, Rocco says, well, wait a minute, it says, and it was a pretty ugly view of a nondescript brick building. Yes, that on top of it. Very good. I'm glad you brought that up, Renee. Roku, it should be Roku, shouldn't it? Roku says, if the paint is purple, I will consider watching. And Renee says, I vote for the purple too. And Roku says, yay, China hats and purple paint. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Anyway, Renee says, YouTube already has a slow-mo channel. No, this is not going to be a slow-mo channel. It's just going to be a slow channel. In other words, maybe I'll put a camera on while I'm asleep. Andy Warhol did that, in the 60s. He was turning out these short films or long films, and he had one called Empire, which was a picture of the Empire State Building from, I think, from dawn until dusk, or maybe from dusk until the next dawn. But it was 12 hours long, and it was just a static shot of the film of the Empire State Building. So then he did one. It was called Sleep. Not kidding you. And it was an 8-hour movie of a person sleeping. And I went to this art theater in L.A. I remember this. And they said, Andy Warhol Sleep. So we figured, hey, an Andy Warhol film. He's an artist, and, he's probably going to do something terrific here. These were the first days when he first started experimenting with film. So we go to watch this thing, and we start watching, and it's this guy sleeping. Well, he gets in the bed first, and then he goes to sleep. And then he just keeps sleeping. And now we're into it for about an hour, and he's still sleeping. Now it's getting to the point where I'm going, I got to just stay here to see if anything's going to happen with this. And 3 hours later, the guy's still sleeping. Finally, somebody ran up to the screen and yelled, "Wake the fuck up!" Anyway, we could do that. I have a camera in there. I can just put the camera in there and put a slight light in there so that we have some kind of picture of me sleeping. That might be good, huh? We could have the paint dry. We could any other things. Let's see here. Anybody else have an idea who wants to put it on the chat of what we could do that's really like not slow-mo, just slow. Just, people maybe just sitting around and watching television. That's always interesting. I'll bet you I could get more viewers doing that than I can doing this, which is what I've done all my life, to great success, I might add, over the years. People have been entertained largely by what I do and amused by it. And so I'm just wondering, have I been wrong all these years in the internet? See, I mean, all the rules have changed when the internet was created. And I think that I didn't adapt to it well. That I just thought, hey, I do radio shows on radio, I'll just do my radio show on the internet because I can go all over the world. And, if I do well, I could probably get more people than I get listening to radio. And I was very wrong. I was very wrong about that. So, I have no idea what to say about it and what to do. I many times get very frustrated by that. I get frustrated by the fact that was a 14-year-old girl out there did makeup hints that got 100 million hits on YouTube. I'm not kidding you, 100 million, and all she's doing is putting on makeup. And there was somebody I saw Seinfeld interviewing in his Comics and Cars Getting Coffee, which is a great show if you haven't watched it. It's on Netflix now. And she was like a YouTube phenomenon, had 100 million views or something. And all she did was put her makeup on badly. I mean, she put her lips really, it was just, and she's very popular. But you know what it is? I don't think it's so much that it's slow stuff as it is, and the hint is here, it's short stuff. It's short attention span theater. I think there used to be a thing called that, where it's just people have such short attention spans that they really can't live with things like like they are now. You know, I mean, with things that are long form. They don't want to listen to this. A bunch of people talking for 2 hours, you know. And I don't know if I can expect them to. But I also found that when I've gone on, when I was like out in, where was it? Out in Fire Island. And I decided to just do some stuff live on Facebook, walking down the street and, you know, and showing people Fire Island, just walking and just talking. I got 1,000 views on that, you know, and you begin to wonder, you know, what have I been working my ass off for here? Why shouldn't we just, you know, I don't know. I mean, my leg is killing me tonight. I know, I'm one thing and another. But I've got cheap drugs, so life is good. Did I tell you this? I got my SAG-AFTRA health insurance, and with it, of course, comes a pharmacy plan, and I'm figuring, they say, well, you know, this pharmacy plan's different. You got to buy 3 months at a time. And I went, oh, that's okay. Well, okay. It was costing me like almost $200 a month to get my drugs. So here I'll give them $600 once every 3 months, and, you know, I'll get my drugs. The drugs come in, and for 3 months, my usual $200 worth of drugs only cost me $227. That means that that I almost won. I just, you know, it was almost the same as 1 month, almost. I mean, yeah. So 3 months supply, and I'm going, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Did they add the numbers up right? But no. So I just want to get even sicker so I can get more pills to take, so I can get this stuff for free. The only problem was I needed a drug. This will show you how much drugs cost these days. I needed a drug. I'll tell you what it is. Cialis. No, I don't have trouble getting a boner, but this is nice to have. But I have enlarged prostate, and this helps me to pee, and it's usable for benign prostate hyperplasia. But drug companies don't want to give you a simple way to get that drug because, number one, it's terribly expensive. And it's terribly expensive, and on top of that, they figure too many people are going to say, well, I got a big prostate, but, you know, I need it but they really want it for the boner. So they make you go through hoops to get it. So they wouldn't immediately give it to me. My doctor had to apply for what's called prior authorization. Took like 24 hours. Boom. Now I'm getting the pills, which they wanted to charge me $1,100 for a 3-month supply, $125. Wow. And before it was costing me $75 a month just for that pill. Now it's down to somewhere to $41 or something like that if you prorate it. So, but on the thing, they tell you what your pharmacy plan saved you. All right? And it said, your pharmacy plan has saved you $1,377. And it went, this is like I hit the mother lode of pharmacy stuff. But I was told that SAG-AFTRA, which I'm a member of, the SAG plan is one of the best medical plans in America. And I am so pleased to have it now. It is just, I wish I had done this. I could have done this 10 years ago, actually, because of my advanced years. It's a senior thing that's offered to seniors. I couldn't get their normal plan because I didn't work enough under AFTRA to be able to get it. But I just wish all America, I wish I had been able to, I would have saved a lot of money if I'd gotten this plan earlier. And I know it was first offered to me. I know that I got a thing about a year ago, and I didn't do anything about it because I went, what is this? This doesn't make sense. It's too cheap. To begin with, it only costs $178 a month. Now, if you think about it, that's about the amount of money that I'm saving over my old drug plan per month for at least 2 of those months. So it even pays for itself. But on top of that, girlfriend's place where she works is paying the tab for our insurance. And I thank them for that. But even if we had to pay for it ourselves, I mean, look at all the money we saved, So I want to know why Under one drug plan, my Cialis cost $75 a month, and under another drug plan for another company, and I had to get prior authorization for that one too, for Oxford, it was $75 a month, I get it for like $41 a month. Why? It's the same pill. It's the same expensive pill that the company puts out, so I don't understand it. Anyway, my leg is killing me tonight. I don't know what this is. I hope I'm not getting a heart attack or something like that. No, I don't think so. Anyway, are my legs red at all? No, they look fine. Yeah. I think I may have slept wrong last night and heard it. Anyway. I just blew the time here. So I better get to the citizen panel. You know what the citizens panel is. If you don't, go to gabnet.net. Over there at gabnet.net, you will see on the right-hand side of the page, it'll tell you all about the citizen panel, also how you can be part of the citizen panel. And it's a very simple proposition. And you use a thing called Skype, or you can just use your phone. You have a choice. And we just let people give us a call. And then you out there who are watching this on YouTube, and you can also see us on YouTube on the gabnet.net page as well, can see what the citizen panel looks like. And if you don't want to look at it, you can listen to it by simply going to gabnet.net. Up at the top of the page, I made a new box for it. You click on that box, and you get our 24/7 feed, and you can hear the audio live. You can also get that same audio in your car. Or you can actually, if you have Roku, go to the Gabnet channel, and there is actually a place where you can listen to the live broadcast. So there are a lot of ways you can listen to us live and in living color, okay? But right now, I am waiting for somebody to call us so we can start talking to people. Now, Phil wasn't here last night, but I'm sure he will be here tonight. And we had a great discussion last night, though. We were getting into, the, how can we call it, the gentrification of a lot of different places and so on, and what gentrification does. And it was really a very, very good discussion. Let's say here, check your blood pressure. I checked my blood pressure. My blood pressure is terrific. It's fine. I went to the doctor, and they went, it looks pretty good, Alex, Here comes Charlene is our first caller tonight. Gee. Hello, Charlene. How are you?
Oh, hi, Alex.
Oh, yeah, hi. Yeah, you're on. We can, in fact, you're taking up the whole screen right now, but not for long, because here comes Phil. So we'll check in with him as well. Little thing whirls around. There's Phil. Hi, Phil.
Hey, good evening.
Did you win an award last night?
3.
You won 3 awards last night.
Yeah. In my category, I took first in color prints, monochrome prints, and projected.
Oh.
So I had 3 different photos.
You seem to be winning an extraordinary amount. Is this by any chance a photo club for blind people?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually in a retirement community.
Oh,
and
God.
These guys, some of them are just phenomenal. But you see, what happens is when you first join the club, they start you out in, against new people. And so the people that are masters, which some of them are just fabulous, don't compete against me.
Yeah.
But as you gain points by winning, then they stick you in the next category and the next category.
By the way, your pal Scott Boddicker just wrote, Phil is on, time for my nap.
Yeah. Well, he comes on even when you see him, he's having a nap.
No, you can't put him down with the same thing he put you down with.
But it's true.
No.
Hey, it's lex talionis. You have to have equal
equal punishment. The punishment must fit the crime.
Well, no, but the fact is that the reason he holds back is when he's very good when there's nobody else here and we talk with each other. Maybe there's one other person. He's very chatty. But then when everybody else calls, he kind of backs off because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to intrude, which is a lesson you probably should learn, Phil.
Yeah, I got a good suggestion for you.
Yeah.
Call him up at 10 o'clock your time and chat with him for a half hour.
I got a suggestion for you. Blow me.
Yeah, you wish.
Yeah.
Why do you think your first name's Ben?
What?
Ben Dover, Benjamin Dover.
Benjamin Dover. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very funny, Phil. Very funny. So,
Alex?
Yes.
Is your hat a pork pie hat?
I guess this is a pork pie hat. Yeah. I think
it's not kosher.
I bought this on the street in Harlem.
Yeah.
You could have never guessed, right?
Yeah, those derby things are in style. If you flop it down, it could be like a derby, like rock and roll guys.
Well, this really doesn't flop down. It's I say this hat makes me look like Norman Lear. You ever see Norman Lear and the hat he wears?
Right.
It's a Norman Lear hat. That's what I call it. Yeah.
Well, did one of the guys in Rocky wear a hat like that? In the Rocky movie?
Maybe Mickey the Trainer or something.
No, it was the brother-in-law, I think.
Yeah.
Paulie or something.
Paulie, yeah.
Yeah, what is this? Renee says he submitted 3 or 4 photos and they won again award. And I didn't get that.
It's not these are all new. I've never seen them
Renee
before.
wants to know how your hand is. She doesn't call, but she wants to know how your hand is.
My hand?
Yeah.
Well, I've got a couple of I took my stitches out because they made it like a 2-week appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God I took some of them out. I should have taken them out sooner because now I go back tomorrow and there's 2 that are stuck. I couldn't get them out.
Oh, they'll get them out.
But I guess they'll be able to get them out, right? They're like embedded in there.
What, they weren't dissolving stitches?
No, he gave me the ones you have to clip off.
Yeah. By the way, in case you've never listened to this program before, folks, this is a show where people call up and give us their medical problems. So, it's...
right.
Phil's trumped us, though. Phil's
show.
trumped us and will trump us in a few weeks because he'll have a catheter for how long?
10 to 14 days, I think.
The 19th, right? The 19th?
The 19th,
I never heard about people having
30th.
to have a catheter after having a prostate removal, but I guess...
I don't know, but I talked to somebody else who had an operation not too long ago that required a catheter, and he took it out early, and that created all sorts of problems for this guy. So, I'm resigned to the fact that it's going to be there. And
you would just think that, let me explain the prostate to people. Do you know, Charlene, because you're a woman, you don't have to know what a prostate is.
Well, until I listened to this show, I didn't know as much as I know now.
Unless a boyfriend told you to stick your finger up his ass and tickle it. What?
My husband, I told him to get PSA test, because he has a problem.
Yeah, it's a prostate problem.
Yeah,
what is enlarged?
Constantly.
It's enlarged. Yeah, it's an enlarged
I
prostate.
don't know, but they'll let him know after the blood test, right?
Just because it's enlarged doesn't necessarily mean you have cancer.
Right.
They found an early low-grade cancer on me. Yeah, could I let it go for 20 years and then, by that time I'll probably be dead anyway? Yeah, it's just that I figured, what the hell? I get rid of the cancer and I can sleep through the night so I'm not peeing all the time.
Well, but you won't take the medicine. I take the medicine. I'm fine. I take the finasteride, which shrinks it, and I take the Cialis, which softens it, and I pee like a racehorse.
Well, I take the Cialis. I stopped taking it lately. I have to keep arguing with them as to the price. But, because all of a sudden they give it to me and then they want, they give me 8 pills. And I said, no, this is not a month's
that's
supply.
not what you want. You want the daily Cialis.
That's what I want.
Yeah. It's the daily Cialis that does it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I figure it this way. I won't have to get out of bed to pee for about 2 weeks.
Well, let me explain to people. What the prostate is exactly. And I explain it in this way. That the one reason I am an atheist and I don't believe in God is I feel that if there was a God, he wouldn't be that bad a construction person, all right? Because he invented this little organ And all the prostate really does is create prostatic fluid, which is not sperm. It's not the thing that creates babies, but it is the stuff that the babies swim in. Okay? And so the prostate only gives out with prostatic fluid. And it is behind your penis, I guess, near your bladder, and it's in a donut shape. Wow. It's probably the only organ we have that has a hole in the middle, literally. And you know what goes through? You know what goes through that hole?
Urethra.
The urethra, which carries your urine. So when you get to be older, this thing grows and grows, and then it starts pinching down on the urethra, and that's why your husband's getting up 5 times a night to take a pee. Right?
He thinks because he drinks too much water.
No.
So I said he better get it. He's over 50. You should get it checked, right?
About half the time I don't wake up in the middle of the night at all to pee, and then the other half I do once. Okay, and that's it. So what you'd have to do is, you have to have pills and stuff that do this. But that's, ladies and gentlemen, what a prostate problem is for a guy.
I also had a prostate infection, and to boot all of this stuff, and that was causing me to pee 20 times, 25 times.
You know what the problem is? It ruins the quality of life. And here's how it ruins the quality of life. It's the same way IBS ruins the quality of life. If you feel that you can't go out because you might have to pee halfway down the street, it makes you think twice about going out or doing stuff or being social or whatever.
Luckily, I live in California. And in California, you have to drive everywhere. And I have... I have a car, and I spend a lot of time in it. So I have this bottle that I have this bottle that, they use at hospitals. It's got the curve in it and everything. Yeah. And, I think they call it the trucker's friend.
Yeah.
But that saves my life.
Well, when I first started having the prostate problem, I was working at Sirius. And I would literally, at various breaks, have to run out, tell them to have a record ready in case I didn't get back in time to take a pee, because it would just become very urgent. It wasn't like, like you could hold it off until the next break.
Can you imagine waiting for the garage door to open or something?
And when I finally went to the doctors, and they did all kinds of things which were very uncomfortable, they gave me this one pill, and they gave me a thing called Flomax, which also does what the Cialis does, but is
after it's got effects.
It's got effects, makes you drowsy and things like that. But it did solve the problem, and that's why I'm surprised why you didn't stick with the Cialis or whatever.
Is the finasteride have female hormones in it?
You know what it is? What was that? There's a thing you take for balding. What's it called? For Propecia. Finasteride is Propecia.
Oh.
Yeah.
So therefore, it might be a female hormone.
I don't know. It could very well be.
The issue with female hormones is that
you know how to make a hormone.
More cancer.
You know how to make a hormone, don't you? Refuse to pay her. Yeah.
Anyway. 130,000.
Yeah.
130.
Wait a minute. Stormy Daniels isn't a whore. She works for a living. And
Alex,
what?
Before we get off the health issue, can we go over the lenses that you get when you have cataracts and all that? Because I want to get
See, folks, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I don't have an audience. It's because nobody wants to listen to old people gripe about their health.
Am I?
They want makeup hints. Okay.
I'm female. I can't be an old altacaca. What would I be? I'm not an altacaca. Do you know I was age outed on the intersection the other night?
You were age outed?
Yeah. Jack Bishop age outed me.
Oh boy. Well, anyway. So folks, this is what we have. What were you? Who was going to? Were you going to say something, Phil? About? Or no, Charlene, you had a question.
Yeah. Well, just about those lenses. Like I
cataracts.
My mother's 86, so I know a little bit about cataract ripening.
Yeah.
But isn't there lenses that even if you get the cataract, you still have to pay for the lenses, right? So that you see, like your sight's almost like better than when you were 20 years old, right?
Well, they insert a lens, don't they?
No, they insert a lens. I have cataract. I've had lenses in both eyes. I imagine maybe at his age, I would imagine that Jeff has has. Did you have you had cataract surgery, Jeff? No. Wow. How about
He has a Lincoln.
Yeah, well, I had both eyes, and what happened is it got very soft in the middle. I couldn't see out of the middle, so it's a simple operation. Supposedly years ago, it was a very complex operation in which you had to sleep on a block every night for weeks on end. Here, it's like pop, 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 pop. They put a cup over your eye. You come back the next morning. They take the cup back. You fill it up with something to drink. I don't know, and they send you home and tell you to keep putting these drops in your eyes for a week, and that's it. Yes, Jeff.
There's a very nice lady in Connecticut, and she's a veterinarian person who does glasses and all this kind of stuff for your eyes.
Glasses?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's like a carpet layer that does bar mitzvahs, right?
Yeah.
And she told me that there's actually like 6 people in the United States who actually do this stuff.
Oh, for dogs or for animals?
Most dogs, yeah.
How do you
But I
know?
think they do it for cats.
Yeah, but how do you know? How do they read the eye chart?
Well, that's what she says. They start walking into the wall.
Oh.
With the indication.
I do that anyway.
Wait, 15 years? What are you saying 15 years for,
That's
Johnny?
not the age of Scotch.
You showing us what you're getting drunk on tonight?
You know, John, I don't care for Scotch. I've never developed a taste for it, but I've tried it. And sometimes I go into a restaurant, if they got like a 30-year-old Scotch or something, I'll try it, but I just haven't developed that taste.
Tastes like iodine.
Yeah, you know.
Something? I've never been a drinker, as you know, Phil.
Yeah.
And I can almost count the amount of drinks I've had in my lifetime. But if I had a drink to drink, it was Scotch. I liked Scotch. I thought Scotch was had an interesting taste to it, and I would drink Scotch, but I still wouldn't drink it to the point where I got drunk or anything. I mean,
Right.
But Scotch, and people say, well, what about vodka? And I went, well, I used to drink vodka when I was, before I was 21, and we all wanted to get drunk because, we were underage, and that was more fun getting drunk when you were underage than when you suddenly could, without recourse.
Did they have Boone's Farm when you were a kid?
Oh, when I was Boone's Farm apple wine came way later. In fact, I helped Pat Sky. I produced a record album for Pat Sky, the folk singer, called Songs That Made America Famous, and we did that literally that entire album on Boone's Farm apple wine.
See,
which is the worst, because if you
16,
drink too much of that stuff, you wake up with the worst headache you've ever had in your life in the morning.
It was $1 a bottle.
Yep.
When I was a kid.
Yeah. But it also became very popular because it was like there was a point at which there were pop wines that came out. They all had flavors and styles and so on, and this was like an apple flavored wine.
The big kids drank
terrible wine. It was terrible. It was just ghastly.
The older kids had Matus. I think that cost $1.50.
Yeah, I think there was.
Wasn't there a commercial? Matus Rose. Hey.
There was also a cheap booze called Wild Irish Rose as well.
Oh, is that a mixture of something?
I don't know what it was, but
From the prostate to Scotch.
Well, it's certainly more interesting. I'm sure it would keep us getting a larger audience if we stuck with this.
Hey guys, I sometimes put these glasses on, but actually this is for my vision improvement. I don't know if you can see it. See, they have little tiny holes in them.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
So it's because you wanted to look like a fly.
Right, the fly.
Yeah. Right, Jeff Goldblum kind of thing. Okay, no, these work. You don't drive with them or anything.
Yeah, but you know what it is?
You know
why they work?
Yeah.
You know why they work? It's like squinting. It's like squinting.
Yeah.
Like when you want to see something and you don't have your glasses on, you squint because that kind of makes it able to see it. And that's exactly what that does. It literally is forcing your eyes to squint.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it goes really good with Scotch, too.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Improves your vision.
Yes, Jeff had his hand up. Yes, Jeff.
Oh, didn't you say one time that your father drank Scotch?
Did he drink Scotch? No, he drank. I think he drank whiskey. He liked whiskey. He liked who's a big whiskey maker?
I don't know, Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels. Yeah. Yeah, this is the old story I used to tell about my father and I are sitting at the bar at Calneva Lodge while Frank and his pals are over in another little room having a party. And we're at the bar because he worked the orchestra. And I turned 21 that year, I think. And my father said to me, he says, you know, before your old man goes, you know, I'd be really happy if you did something with me and had a drink. And I went, well, you know, I don't drink. Because I'd gotten over drinking the minute I turned 21 because it wasn't fun anymore.
Right.
I said, okay, well, whatever. Sure, I'll have a drink with you. And he says, what are you going to have? And I said, whatever you're having. He says, all right, bartender, 2 Jack Daniels on the rocks. All right. So the drinks come, and my father takes the drink and downs it, okay? And he's looking at me now, and I got to do the same thing. And I start to drink it, and the minute it hits my gullet, I go, Jesus fucking Christ. How do you drink this shit? And my father looked at me and said, so you think I've been having fun all these years, huh? Yeah. So,
my grandfather made his money during the war in Worcester, Massachusetts. That's where I grew up. And right in Worcester, my mom worked at this factory too, USS Steel. She tested Grand Rifle Springs. That's what they made at USS Steel. And my grandfather owned the bar right near the steel mill. So all the workers came and after their shift, and he told me a story where this guy used to drink 12 Boilermakers. I don't know if the young millennials listening to this know what a Boilermaker is.
Say what it is. It's
Shot in a beer.
With shot of booze in it.
Yeah. Well, you know, one after the other. Then they'd walk home.
I thought they turned the shot over and they dump it, glass and all, into the beer.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe the Irish do that, but the Lithuanians probably have a different custom. So
they didn't have any glasses.
Boy, I never really, but I never got into booze that much, you know.
Man,
as I say, before I turned 21, because it was kind of like a rite of passage, and also because my friends were doing it, so you want to be part of your group. I would occasionally have a drink, and I do remember one night we sat on a pier in Sausalito. Right on the pier, and we had a bottle of booze, and we said, let's keep passing it back and forth until one of us falls in the water.
Oh yeah, great!
And sure enough, one of us did fall in the drink. It wasn't me, but it was somebody else. But you know,
well, I was never much of a drinker growing up, or
Jewish men aren't drinkers, really. And by the way, we have with me 3 Jews here tonight. You're not Jewish, are you, Johnny?
You know, I could be. I'd have to have a genetic test. I don't know. Hey, my uncle Albie.
Yeah.
My uncle Albie was arrested by the Gestapo in Vilnius during the war, and he spent some time in a concentration camp. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he survived, and I don't know why he was arrested. The family story on that's vague, but who knows? You know, I think.
They took gypsies, so if you're Lithuanian, maybe they thought he was a gypsy or something.
No, I wasn't a gypsy. I think somewhere there was a marriage down the line, I think. And you could take genetic tests now that will tell you if you have...
I sent away for one of those things from Ancestry.com, and it comes back and says, you're 99% Jewish. No fucking shit. I wanted a little more information than that. I'd like to know, hey, you were born in this part of your family comes from this part of Hungary or whatever. No, you're 99% Jewish. And I went, oh, yeah. Tell me something I don't know, you know. What a waste of $69.
Genetically, how do you know you're Jewish? You're not. Maybe you got Tay-Sachs disease or something. I don't know. How do they know from that?
Oh no, they know from genetics. They can do genetic testing, and they know the area from which you came, and probably what breed you are. You know.
So if you came from Africa, you're 99% black. You know what?
Yeah, well, they might say 99% Nigerian or 99% whatever. But in my case, it didn't say like. It showed a whole big map of where I probably came from, and I know that already. You know, most of it, a lot of it was Germany, and there was Poland, and a little bit of Russia.
Those areas on the map, if you look a little closely, it might have been the areas where your dad had concert dates.
It could have been. No, he never went back. He never went back. Once they left, they came here. They came before the war, however.
So.
Yeah, my grandparents too. They were conscripting. Well, the Russians were conscripting young Lithuanian men into the army, and my grandfather didn't want to do that, so. Yeah.
When you talk about concentration camps, I have a friend, Jack Garfine, who I really should get to come on this show some night. Just forget you guys for 2 hours and just talk with him. This guy came to America and became a motion picture and stage director of fairly good note with the Actors Studio and so on. But it's like he had two lives, because before he came here, he had been in 11 concentration camps as a kid. A kid.
Yeah.
And in fact, I told people here, he met Mengele. I said, I don't care that you knew Marilyn Monroe, which he did, or that you gave James Dean his first job. I'm just amazed you met Mengele. But when I listen to his stories, I just can't imagine how anybody got through that. How do you survive? I mean, he tells how he survived it, but it was he came this close to getting killed many times.
Oh yeah,
and
I've been trying to send you this, make a copy of it, but it was the interview that was done by the people that interviewed the camp survivors for the movie. What was it? Spielberg's movie.
Yeah.
And
Schindler's List.
Schindler's List. And my friend's father survived 2 camps, and so did his mother. And but they interviewed the father, who was still living. And it was a very, very interesting interview. He told, basically his life story. Now, but I can't just rip it from one CD to another, because there's some sort of a thing in there that says it's like protects it, so you can't duplicate it. So I tried just downloading it to my Zoom recorder, and I can do that, and then take that and cut another one.
Well,
and make a
let's not rip off the Jews.
But very interesting, just like your friend Jack. But they took my friend's dad when he was young. Maybe he was 12, 13 years old.
Jack was, I think, 13 when they.
Yeah, and because he was strong, he was able to do heavy work and so forth.
Well, the reason Jack survived was they were taking kids and they were saying, "How old are you?" And if they were under a certain age, they would make them go to the gas chambers. If they were older, they would have them go into another line, which was for working. And his mother told him, lie about your age. And the person he lied to about his age was Mengele.
Wow.
Jesus.
Mengele looked at him and said, how old are you, young man? And he said, 15. And he said, and then he checked, patted his cheek, stroked his cheek, and said, nice boy. Nice boy. And you go over there.
Creepy.
You go over there. And he started going over there, and then he started hesitating. And one of the capos, these were the Jews who were the guards, kind of, in the concentration camps, said, just move your ass and get going. He says, well, I really lied to that nice man back there.
Oh, jeez.
And I really should go back and tell him that I was lying to him. And he said, just keep walking. Right. And he said that was one of the people who saved my life,
As a contractor, I worked for this guy who was Yugoslavian, And, we talk at lunch, and this guy grew up during the war. He was a kid, and his village or his town was occupied by the Nazis, and he was sent out at night from the barn or the place they were hiding. This is him telling us this, to run and get food. And he said they used to, the Nazi soldiers used to take shots at him, and he was so fast they couldn't hit him. And he's sitting there telling us this story, and then
but you can't imagine. You can't imagine having to live that life.
And then he said there were some collaborators in his village who were captured and hung, and they made the little children. He was one of them. Stand and watch the hanging, and he said he turned his head, and the soldier forcibly turned his head around and made him watch the hanging.
I don't want to distract you, but we just lost Charlene. Oh, no, there she is. There she is. You see, we can tell now when you're dropping off because the camera starts going down. We could use a few more.
Now the fucking Nazis are in charge of Ukraine. Pravi sector, Azov brigade. Those are the people that are fighting in eastern Ukraine.
You want to hear something very interesting, and I learned this years ago because I love to talk about it on radio programs and so on. There was a group in, I can't remember where it was, called the Ustashi. I think maybe it was something like one of the Slavic states.
Yeah.
It was called the Ustashi, and they were a really mean bunch of Nazis to go around killing a lot of people. Well, after the war was over, they came to the United States. And because they were Catholics, the Catholic Church took them.
Yeah.
And so they had a guy in Chicago who was the head of the Ustashi. He was famous for having killed over 100,000 people, and supposedly at one time killed 6 rabbis with his bare hands. And yet what happened was, the Catholic Church was harboring these people in the United States. Why? Because they were Catholics. And it was just, what's the book?
It's in Devil's Chessboard about the Dulles brothers and how they were called rat lines, where after the war, all these Nazi criminals were funneled different parts of the world, including the U.S., because they were cooperating with the CIA to give information on Russians and, Soviet agents, whatever, because they had a lot of information. So it's in this book. This is a fantastic book. It'll make you throw up.
Yeah.
The Dulles brothers, I'll tell you, this is on TV. I don't give a shit. If I went to the cemetery where Alan Dulles is buried, I would piss on his grave.
Really?
I swear.
I have to check that out. The guy who was in Chicago was named Arturo Turkovic, if I remember correctly. And they finally caught up with him. And they finally accused him of having been a murderer for the Ustashi during the war. I think they put him on trial. They found him guilty, but they couldn't deport him. And why couldn't they deport him? There's a law about deportation. If you're going to deport somebody, you better find a country that's willing to take them. And there weren't any countries wanted to take a Nazi murderer. Okay? Yeah. So Artukovic, I think, just rotted in jail here. They never were able to get him out of here. But he was languishing for maybe 20 years in this country, living the good life before they ever caught him. And he was being harbored by, I think there was a certain group of Catholics. It was like a sect or something like that took care of him and also took care of a lot of other people who came from Europe. But
they wouldn't send them to Venezuela or any of those.
They did. The rat lines went all over the place.
What happened was
Argentina.
The reason they went to Argentina was only because a lot of the ex-Nazis went to Argentina, so they protected each other. And you could go live out in the country, and there were people who would watch out for you and make sure you didn't get caught. I mean, that's how Borman lived for so long on the lam, was because of the kind of protection he was afforded, not by the Argentinian government, but by this network of people who would, keep the Argentinians away from them.
Was Mengele one of the ones that went to Argentina?
Mengele?
They think so.
Yeah, Mengele, not Borman. Excuse me. Mengele was the guy
There
who
was
went
that
to
movie,
Argentina.
The Boys from Brazil, was about.
Yeah,
like,
but that was fiction. That was fiction.
Right, it was. Right.
Hello, Patrick.
Hi.
Yeah, we're talking about Nazis and booze.
What are you drinking?
Coffee.
Oh.
I'm doing tea. I'm trying to do tea now so I can get more sleep at night. What do I need sleep for?
Alex, caffeine. Tea has double caffeine.
No, it doesn't have double caffeine. It doesn't
Depends
have
on what tea.
Huh?
You get. It depends on what kind of tea. You
Is it
get
green
SHI tea. It doesn't have as much caffeine as CUNT.
Tea. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, it's International Women's Day. Shut up.
Yeah, right.
Just celebrating the woman.
This is international. This is International Bitches Day. Come on, let's
Hey,
give
my friend
give them their
Eddie.
due, okay? Let's buy them a present and then they can clean up the kitchen.
Speaking about bitches, my friend Eddie from Greenpeace had the most perfect description of Jeff Sessions. He called him that fucking little gerbil bitch. I just love that. Fucking little gerbil bitch.
Fucking little gerbil bitch,
like
doo-dah. Fucking little gerbil
John,
bitch.
I like what Jeff Sessions is doing because I don't believe in these sanctuary things. I believe that they put a lot of people at risk.
Here we go.
Here we go, man.
Well, we're off to
You put them at risk.
we're off to the races. You just had to mention Jeff Sessions, didn't you, Johnny?
Come over, Phil. Come on, we'll have a couple of drinks and talk about Jeff Sessions, the gerbil bitch.
First of all, the president today was talking about how the mayor of Oakland has endangered the lives of officers who work for the government. And okay, tell us one officer that's been hurt by this sanctuary city rule.
It's a slippery slope because they could have taken 1,000 guys, bad guys.
No, we don't know. No, they weren't.
Like
they weren't all bad. They had, to begin with, they didn't know they were bad. Nobody had ever proved they were bad. There was no court of law that was going to say they were bad. They were just going to pick up Mexicans and throw them out of the country.
Well, they're also here illegally, but believe me, they're not on the radar because they're nice guys.
No, if I were I would want to be off the radar as well. If I were just,
No, these guys are gang members. These guys are
God. You know what they do. You know what you've eaten up. You've eaten up this lie where you mention things like they're gang members. Yeah, I'm sure there's some that are gang members. But not all of them are gang members. Not even the vast majority of them are gang members.
Even though they're here illegally, they'll get due process.
Some of them are just guys that stand out in front of Home Depot trying to get work doing your lawn.
Yeah, you're living a false equivalency because you're comparing these guys to these mundane guys that just want to
I'm saying no, yours is a false equivalency when you're trying to say they're all part of gangs.
You use what I use.
Are they all part of gangs? Are they all part of gangs? Every single one of them?
Many.
Hey,
many. How many?
Comment.
How many?
I got a comment.
Yes.
107.
You know what Jeff Sessions and the Democrats in the state are doing is politicizing police work. Yes, the MS-13 here, just 5 miles away from where I live, these MS-13 gang guys went out into one of the most beautiful open space sections where there's a waterfall nearby. And they hacked to death one kid. They cut off his fingers with a machete, shot him a few times, his buddy. MS-13. So they caught most of them, except one kid fled. They think he went back to El Salvador or something. He's gone.
That's not even Mexico, by the way, Phil.
But see now, if ICE had just worked under the table with the Oakland PD or the San Rafael PD or whoever and said, look, we are looking for this guy. He's a murderer. He's wanted. But then to politicize the whole thing like they did. Now, Alex, you're right. I think most of the immigrants here are wonderful people. I know some. It's the drug dealers and the gangs that bring this whole down.
And they're not all.
They
They're
should be.
Crime.
Yeah. So I
have nothing against rounding up criminals. I have something with this wasn't a roundup of criminals. No matter what your little asshole Trump says. No.
Where do you get your information?
Where do you get your information that they're all criminals? From Trump, that fucking goddamn asshole of a liar who just yesterday allowed people to bring in elephant tusks into this country because that's what his son wants to hunt?
Wait a minute. Put your hand to your ear like this, and I'll tell you where I get my facts.
Where do you get your facts?
Yeah,
of course. That's the same place I do. So, we're blood brothers. Did you hear about that? That he did a little executive order that you can bring elephant tusks into the country now because his son hunts them?
Well, I don't know the facts around that. I don't know why he would allow that.
Because his son's killed elephants.
No, but it's horrific what they do to these poachers. Do the elephants for these tusks?
Yeah, well, then you should. Any country that allows them in is facilitating that bad behavior.
Absolutely. So there must be something else going on. Why? Who the hell needs this ivory? I just don't understand. But on the other hand, I like the negotiating things that he's doing with the tariffs.
That's really good. That's really good.
Canada and Mexico.
Oh, that's going to be really good. Now let me see here. Let me just postulate this for you, Phil.
All right. Yeah.
For instance, China or these countries that supply us with the vast majority of our steel, because only 5% of the steel used in the United States is made here, because we don't have the plants anymore. Okay, and we're not going to get the plants again. So now you're China, and they put a 25% tariff on you, and they go, okay, we'll raise the price of steel 25%.
Right. Now it comes back to bite you in the ass. Well, that's been biting us in the ass since the days of Walmart stopping, and they're not buying American-made products. They're buying Chinese-made products, and you put all the American companies out of business. Some way, you got to pay the price.
Well, so they'll pay the tariff, and they'll also raise the price of steel, and then your car is going to cost more, and your beer is going to cost more, and it comes back to bite you and me in the ass. Somehow, this whole tax break that he gave Americans is going to be eaten up between that and every other thing he's doing that's going to be taking money out of our pockets.
People to make a living wage. You want people to make money. There's only one way you're
to begin with. They're not going to get steel. They're not going to get steel jobs, Phil. There are no steel jobs to be had.
They'll be steel jobs.
They're not going to build new steel mills. Okay.
Well, he thought they were going to, bring back the coal miner too, Trump, right?
And let's bring back coal. Let's bring back coal, something we're trying to get rid of.
And that's because they're selling it to the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese, not South and North anymore, but the Vietnamese are, Trump said, hey, buy our coal, and they are, because we have things that we can export.
You are, to begin with, you're allowing a man who was a terrible businessman, terrible businessman, to make these kind of decisions and say, "Oh, this sounds like a good idea." No, it's not. Alex, it's not.
You got to start.
And then all of a sudden, you know who one of the major producers of steel is for this country? Canada, and you're not going to put a tariff on them,
right?
You're not going to put a tariff on Mexico. These guys you hate.
Because China is dumping and controlling their currency.
So China will just simply say 25% more for Chinese steel. If you don't want to buy it, they'll buy it in India.
Well, that's okay.
Okay, well, fine. It's not going to hurt China at all.
Yeah, we have a $500 billion a year deficit with China. How are you going to change?
Do you know we have 100? Do you know how much money we owe China?
Yeah, and it's getting worse every year.
Yes, and it gets worse every year. If China wants to really get back at us in this trade war, they'll just call in the debt.
Well, how do you?
And we'll go back. We'll go fucking bankrupt.
Just keep doing the same thing over and over. And hey, has anybody heard the news? I understood that South Korea was going to announce some Trump.
No, they already have. You haven't paid attention.
North Korea, Kim Jong-un
sent a letter to
is going to meet with Trump. Trump's going to meet him. And this was just on KCBS. I listened to KCBS.
That'd be fun because you can watch the two of them, figure out which one's the biggest idiot.
Kim said he's going to stop all further nuclear testing
for now, while the discussions are going on.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. You got to start somewhere. Where have we been? All we've been doing is ignoring this guy for the past 2 or 3 generations of presidents.
Wait a minute, but hold on a second. No, this guy
North Korea's threat has been ignored.
North Korea's threat has never been nuclear up until now. It has never been nuclear. It has never been nuclear. It has never been nuclear until now. Am I right or am I wrong about that? Do you know, Patrick or Jeff? Jeff, wait a minute. Jeff says I'm correct.
Well, I don't say he's not right.
Will you let him say something here, Phil?
No, I listened to it on MSNBC this morning quite a bit, and the guy who's the president now has only been there for about 6 years.
Yeah.
So, the history before that is quite different.
Yeah, but he's been pursuing.
Hold on a second, Phil. We're talking over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and he has nuclear equipment, and it's still somewhat under development.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that the biggest change is going through South Korea, talking to them directly. And the guy who was on the TV today was from South Korea.
Yeah, there's some noise somebody's making. Quit rattling stuff there. Yeah, anyway, go ahead. Yeah. And so the North Koreans, South Koreans, up the ante on this whole thing. They're the ones I think that gave Trump the letter from Kim Jong-un inviting him to talks. I guess maybe in North Korea. I don't know if he's going to go to North Korea.
From what I heard today, nobody said that it was going to be any place. There was no
place. Yeah.
No location.
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago.
Okay. And we don't even know that Trump is going to go.
Yeah. Well, Trump said. I think Trump said he's willing to talk.
That's right.
But they have these meetings,
and I'd be really happy if they talk with him because there's nothing like having these guys talk to a real politically savvy human being. Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Everybody likes the guy when they meet him.
I don't give a shit. I'd hate him. He's everything I hate about a human being. Okay.
Yeah.
Trump or Ung?
No, I've come in proximity of Donald Trump, and he wasn't a nice guy at all.
Yeah. Okay. So
who's got to set the meeting up is Dennis Rodman has to set this meeting up.
Right.
Well, I think
he was on The Apprentice, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think maybe you're right there. But, talking and opening up a discussion is the first part to peace. And no one else has achieved this. Mm-hmm. And you got to give the guy his due. And, you don't want to
during World War II?
Give him props for anything.
Well, who was the guy? Who was the prime minister? It was the foreign secretary of Britain who came back and said, I've held up a piece of paper and said, we have peace in our time. He had signed a peace pact with Hitler.
Was that Mountbatten the other guy that acquiesced?
Chamberlain. And so sure, signing these things always bring peace. Yeah.
Well, and nobody signed anything yet, but they're starting to talk, which is much better than having nuclear arms in the hands of a man.
Look, I think Kim Jong-un was always a person you could talk to if you just approached the situation and said, let's try and figure this thing out. But that isn't the way it's been handled up until now by either the former presidents or our current president.
Right.
In fact, our former presidents didn't care that much about North Korea because they did know that North Korea had all kinds of problems feeding their people and so on. So they weren't the kind of country. But Kim Jong-un has kind of gotten the country together more than his father ever did. And I think they become more of a danger when they are capable of these things. And so, you know, I see why now. I think Kim Jong-un has been using the whole nuclear thing as a pretext to being able to get people to talk to him and to talk about this. I think that's what his whole aim was in the beginning, not to lob a rocket to California. If he did that, he'd have about 5 minutes to survive in North Korea. He wanted people to take him seriously. And you know something? Because he has a nuclear weapon, or looks like he has a nuclear weapon, people are taking him seriously. So,
Well,
so
they
the strategy won, and Uncle Fuckface took the bait.
Uncle Fuckface is talking peace now. You know, I mean,
he's talking peace on Tuesday, and on Thursday he'll be talking war, and then on Saturday he'll be talking Shabbos. You know, I mean, come on.
He could be the second coming of Christ, and you would still hate him.
Oh, I would hate him more if he was the second coming of Christ, okay? I'm Jewish, for crying out loud.
Then he's got his sidekick, little gerbil bitch.
Yeah. Little gerbil bitch. Here's the thing.
Didn't she get fired?
No, Jeff Sessions is the gerbil bitch.
Yeah.
What?
That was the hot one. That was the hot one.
Hope.
Well, didn't Jeff Sessions, he went to California in the last couple of days and was out there giving speeches about how...
Jerry Brown, you know, and I like Jerry Brown. I mean, he's a little off center when it comes to be as a person. You know, he's strange.
My pal Jerry is cool. He is cool.
Well, he has been cool over the years.
I was friends with him for a while, and I got to know him, and I liked Jerry Brown a lot.
I was his neighbor.
Yeah, but did you know?
But that's the old Jerry Brown. The new Jerry Brown.
Jerry Brown.
Well, no, the old Jerry Brown was wacko too, but he was wacko on the side of good. Okay, I mean,
didn't you know the father too, Alex?
What?
We used to talk about that.
What?
You knew the father, or just the
no, the father. I knew who the father was. He was governor when I was a kid.
Yeah,
right.
Edmund G. Pat Brown.
Hey, when Pat Brown set up the California State College system, it was free. UC Berkeley was free. UC Santa Cruz was free. UCLA was free. That was Pat Brown that did that.
Probably still is. Got the grades. Did they have a 5.0 average now?
I don't know. I thought 4.0 was the top.
I know, yeah, 4.0 or 4.3 or something, but you need a 5.0 to get in there now.
Really?
Yeah, it's tough to get in.
Well, also everybody wants to
transfer in.
Everybody wants to get in there. You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a school everybody wants to be part of.
Is it still principally cost free?
No.
Oh
It's
no.
School.
It's like $20,000 a year now or something.
Yeah.
That's still, if you compare that to things like Harvard and so on, and Yale,
like $80,000.
Yeah, that's cheap.
My daughter went to Chapman in Orange County, which is part of the same one. You know, like Nixon went to
Whittier College.
Whittier. Well, Chapman and Whittier, they're all part of the same group, and that was $40,000 a year several years ago, and it's more now. But UC Berkeley is a real
I'm
deal.
glad I didn't have any kids. Yes, Charlene has her hand up.
You know, he's doing something. What'd you call him? Fuckface Trump?
Yeah.
Well, isn't he doing something now with Twitter that they have to look into this now that he's not he's what do you call him, deleting them, or what do you call it when you take them off? I forget now.
Well, there are certain reasons you can get thrown off Twitter.
He should mute them instead of cutting them off his page.
He's cutting people off his page. Well, he has a right to block people. Everybody has a right. My wife every day writes him and calls him a fuckface. You know, so
because Alex, he's a public figure, and they say that it could be infringing upon people's civil, your right for free speech.
No, hold on a second. Well, Patrick's been very quiet tonight. When Patrick is quiet, I get very suspicious that he's either thinking bad thoughts about us, or he is bored with the discussion. What are you thinking, Patrick?
I give Trump a lot of credit for the North Korean thing. I think he's full of shit on tariffs. The whole Twitter thing, I give a shit about. So there we go. That's the three topics.
What do you mean the quitter thing?
You missed the prostate.
The Twitter thing that Charlene just brought
Twitter,
up.
Twitter. Yeah. How do you feel about that? You don't care.
Shit.
Yeah.
He said, I thought he said it was bullshit.
No, he has the right to block people from his Twitter feeds if he wants to, and give people, of course, a false impression that everybody loves him, but he gives everybody a false impression anyway.
Hey, that's how the Russians are going to beat us. It's real simple. I'll tell you how. They're going to set their guy on Twitter and start insulting Trump, calling him this or that. He's going to get so distracted on Twitter that the Russians will overwhelm us with their new nukes, and that's it. That's over.
That's what they've done.
Patrick?
Yeah, that's something I find mildly humorous is the people that are in the Democratic side politics now see the Russians as the Republicans have seen the Russians throughout the Cold War. Yeah. And now the Democrats all say the Russians are coming, the Russians are coming, the Russians are coming, while they made fun of those of us who always felt the Russians were bad. And now the tables are turned,
I would disagree with you to a certain extent here, and follow my logic on this. I don't think Democrats ever felt that the Russians were okay. All right,
because they were commies.
Will you let me finish, Phil? That we didn't think, I don't think, felt that they were okay, but that also they hadn't been up to the no goodnik stuff that they're up to now. In other words, we over the years have not had Vladimir Putin totally unleashed. Now we do.
They're picking on their own spies in the UK.
We know that, Phil. We're not talking about that right now. We're not talking about the fact that Putin is, in fact, a murderer. All right? So, and that's how he keeps his place.
You mean like Jong-un?
He doesn't want to ever not be president or prime minister of the Soviet, of Russia, because the minute he isn't, they're going to start coming after him with every legal method known to mankind for all the criminal activities, the amount of money that he has made. I mean, a good example would be that a few years ago he jailed the biggest oligarch, the biggest rich person in Russia. And then all the other oligarchs went to him and said, how do we keep from going to jail?
The Saudis are doing the same thing. Wait a minute,
but you let me finish.
All right.
What was I going to say next, Phil?
Well, you said he jailed all the oligarchs.
No,
and now
I didn't say that. Isn't what you weren't even listening.
How much? How much? And it was 50%.
It was 50%. Yes.
So
he has kind of illegally become one of the biggest billionaires in the world. By the way, you know who the number one billionaire is now?
The Sultan of
Jeff Bezos, the guy with the crazy eyeballs.
Jeff Bezos, number one, 123 billion, I think. And then he's followed up by Gates, who comes in at about 98 or something like that, or maybe 102 billion. And then the Sage of Omaha.
Hey, my mother used to say, never trust anybody with weird eyeballs. And there you go, Jeff Bezos.
In 10 years, 15 years, that guy could be a trillionaire.
Well, anyway, the point is that I don't think the Democrats or the liberals ever felt fondly about Russia, ever. That's a misnomer. You think because they were, that went back to the days when there were communists. They were communists there, and everybody thought, oh, well, if you're a liberal, you're going to be for the communists. No, it's not true. They were never for the Soviet Union. They were always in Russia. They were always very careful about them, just as much as the Republicans were. But the Republicans used them as a lightning rod, and they used them as oh, God, the commies are going to be taking over the country if we don't watch out. There's a commie under every bed. Oh, let's jail all these people who are making movies that are communists. And,
In Newspeak, they call them progressives now instead of commies.
What the fuck was that about, Phil?
Yeah, well, that's the new commie.
To begin with, I hate the term progressive. I hate the term progressive.
Upside down.
Yeah.
I know, but that's what it means.
I hate the term, but anyway, all I'm saying is, Democrats weren't for the Russians particularly. But the fact is, you've got a president who's denying what the Russians have done. That doesn't want to take sanctions against them, doesn't want to stop it from happening. And he, quite frankly, I think he's been in bed with them all along. I think they got those. I think they got those pee on the president pictures. Is what I think they've got.
How do you know what they do? What they're doing in the background to fix these things? If you don't talk to the guy, you can't have peace.
Yeah, if you don't talk to the if you don't talk to the guy and put sanctions against him, you won't rig your elections.
Well, they did put sanctions against him, but meanwhile, we'll see what happens in 18.
He is not going to. They got stuff on him. You got to know they got stuff on.
All right,
Trump.
so
you don't think there's stuff?
Yeah, on Hillary too, man.
What's her name? The porno star.
Yeah, look how he's trying to shut her up.
Yeah, well, I know, but I would have banged her too. And
I wouldn't have banged her. She's just those phony press-on tits just don't turn me on.
I like that.
You like that?
I think she should be on the show, Alex. Your viewers will escalate by a couple thousand.
Oh, I would blow out YouTube if I had Stormy Daniels on.
Yeah.
But isn't Stormy suing Trump now for not signing that disclosure thing or something?
Well, no. What happened was that the area where it had the initials DD, AKA, and then there was a line to fill in what the AKA was. It wasn't signed because I guess they never had him sign it, so they didn't have to put AKA Donald Trump. So she claims that it's not valid because he never signed it.
I don't think so. I think if she signed it,
she'll give the money back.
It's too late now.
Yeah.
Well, the point is, I don't think she should give the money back. But the thing is, there are certain legal things where if you sign something and then you took some money for it, if the other guy didn't sign it, you're still showing your agreement to confidentiality. And I think that's where she's in trouble. But quite frankly, I'd like to see her give the money back and then just tell us what it was like to blow him. While his wife was at home nursing their newborn child.
I think it's pretty good that he was able to. It's a married woman. It's got all the drama.
Yeah, it's got all the drama, and he also got malaria at home, just having given birth to her newborn son, and he's out fucking Stormy Daniels and a Playboy playmate.
Not a bad way to go.
Well, no, he did it in the same way that Harvey Weinstein did it. He used his power and prestige to do it. Oh, you think that Stormy Daniels said to herself, "I got to get me some of that Trump"? Do you really think so?
She's a virtue. She's such a virtuous woman that I think that she said, I want to bang a billionaire. Just the same way that they want to bang talk show hosts.
Nobody wants to bang a talk show host. I got to tell you,
not anymore.
That's why Matt Lauer had to lock his door when they were in the room.
Yeah, really. Well, that's so he could trap them in.
Hey,
there,
listen. Compared to a lot of these guys, Matt Lauer's a find. I mean, it's like Alec Baldwin was saying on a show the other night. Can you imagine Harvey Weinstein opening his robe and saying, "Hey, do I look like Brad Pitt? You want some of this?" He says, and looking like a stuffed derma.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
I saw that Alec Baldwin thing too, and I like the way he gave props to Dick Cavett and who was the other guy? Late night. What was his name? Oh God, I'm losing my mind. The cigarette.
We all lose our mind.
Tom Snyder.
Tom Snyder, that was it, right? Because I like both those guys too.
Talking about those guys, the guy you had on the replay last night of
Kevin Meaney.
Larry.
Larry King.
Larry King.
Larry King. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that's why I played it, because it was wonderful.
It was, and I love Kevin Meaney.
Yeah, I never.
And people, in case people want to see it, it's up on my Facebook page. So.
Yeah. I never realized I got a different view of Larry King. And, he basically also interviewed himself. You did a good job, but, you let him go and you let him talk.
Well, as I said in the interview, and I also said prior to the interview in my introduction to the footage, the hardest thing you can do if you're an interviewer is interview another interviewer.
Yeah.
Because
he interviewed himself.
That's what happens. Either that happens or they feel uncomfortable not being the person asking the questions. Yes, Jeff.
I was so impressed that your voice, as
Right.
it comes out today,
That much.
is much better than it was.
Oh, it hadn't changed that much. You know, I think you still have a young set of pipes.
Yeah, it's just that unfortunately that illusion is being ruined by the fact that this is TV. You know.
So that's okay. You know.
Yeah.
That's why they created radio.
Yeah.
You know, for so you got
I have a face for radio. Okay,
Right.
that's why I always chose radio as my major medium.
I had other friends in radio, and they had bodies for radio too. You know, they were like 300 pounds, and
well, the guys with the best voices always were 300 pounds.
Yeah,
because they had this large rib cage, and that
resonate.
resonated, and they were great announcers.
Larry King has a great voice too.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a time when I was a kid, when I was growing up in radio, as a child, that I listened to radio all the time because it was the medium I grew up on, and I would have this image of all the people, that were on and what they looked like, and from what they sounded like. It never
matched when you saw them.
And then all of a sudden, I would see a photograph in the paper of the guy, and I'd go, "How does that voice come out of that guy?"
Yeah.
And then if I ever saw them somewhere and they started talking, I'd go, "Oh, okay, now I see the two match up." But I mean, I remember coming to New York, and my favorite show was a show on radio called Let's Pretend, and every week they would do a different fairy tale, and dramatically, and I loved the show. So my mother, as a surprise to me when we came to New York to see her parents, got tickets to go see Let's Pretend. And so I sit there in the audience as a kid, and now all these people are coming out, and they're standing in front of a microphone reading scripts. And there's some guy over in the corner doing sound effects. And it just, none of it registered with me. It was the most horrible, disillusioning thing I had ever seen in my life. They made no attempt, because it was an audience full of kids, after all. There was no attempt to play to those kids and to try and live up to that magic that they were creating on radio, for that, because they were all just radio people and they didn't care. There was no visuals.
When I was a kid, maybe 4 or 5 years old, my mother took me to NBC Studios.
Yeah.
And they showed you, this is the way we make the sound of bacon in the pan. They took some film and they crumple it up, and that's
cellophane.
They still do that, the tour, right? They still do that.
The tour. And so I was impressed by that. And the only other time was my dad got me on the Sonny Fox show because he did his carpet.
Wonderama.
Yeah, Wonderama, Sonny Fox. And that was interesting. You're in the gallery there.
He's still alive doing stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Sonny Fox is still alive.
Yes, doodah. Yes, Jeff.
Oh, you never saw Sonny Fox. You didn't grow up in New York.
Right. Jeff.
Yeah, I grew up.
No, Alex. He don't know from Sonny Fox.
Well,
you had to be a kid in New York to see that. It wasn't national. He had other.
And then it was Bob McAllister after him, and he wasn't the same. He wasn't as good as Sonny Fox.
But anyway.
My question is, the Gunsmoke, when it was on radio.
Yeah.
It was a different guy.
Bill Conrad was the announcer, and he was about 250 pounds. He did not look like Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon,
he looked more like Orson Welles when Orson Welles got fat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And he had a great voice.
But he was Matt Dillon. When it went to television, they weren't going to use him, even though he was an actor in a lot of movies. If you could watch a lot of old Warner Brothers movies, William Conrad, he played the fat detective on televition.
Cannon.
Cannon. Yeah.
Cannon.
Yeah. But he couldn't do Matt Dillon. They had to go out, and who they got was what's his name, James Arness. And you know what James Arness really did for a living? He was John Wayne's double.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you look at him, of course, He looks like John Wayne, you know. And if you put him on a horse and have him ride down the road a piece, he's going to look just like John Wayne.
And Peter Graves from Mission Impossible was his brother.
That's right. That's correct. Yeah, he did not look like John Wayne, however. Do you know what we're talking about, Patrick? He's the young guy in the group. You know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen Gunsmoke?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've seen Gunsmoke and that.
You know that
you're talking about earlier, not so much, but yeah, Gunsmoke. I watched that. Well, I still watch it on one of their old people channel that I watch all the time.
Nick at Night or something like that.
Me TV or
Me TV. Yeah. What is that Me TV anyway?
Channel 20 KOFY does the Me TV.
Yeah, but it's a thing that they take secondary stations in a market. Like it comes in on Channel 3 on FiOS here. And I'm going, these are really pretty bad shows. There's another channel, if you want old stuff, that I love called Decades. And
I like that
Decades has the Dick Cavett show, which I really enjoy watching.
I love Dick Cavett. He was like an idol of mine.
Yeah,
I love him.
And my wife used to work for him. Ronnie, my ex-wife, my former wife, used to work for him in producing that show.
Hey, I miss the Doghouse. Alex, when you were on KQED with a comedy show, I think it was in the 80s.
I did a show. It was actually it was national. It was on PBS across the country. It was called Comedy Tonight. Yeah. Comedy Tonight. Yeah.
Oh, that was a great show. It was one of my favorite shows on KQED. And then after the show was off, we'd go to the public access channel, and it was this weird show called The Doghouse. I mean, you got to Google it. I can't even describe this thing. It was so strange. The Doghouse on San Francisco public access TV.
Yeah. So I don't even know.
I was talking to Jack last night, and when I came back from the competition, and
you were cheating on me, huh?
Yeah, and I was excited that I took 3 first places, and so I couldn't wait to tell somebody.
You knew you couldn't come here and get the same excitement out of me, so
yeah.
So
I would go. So what are you doing? You eating those things?
So anyway, we were talking about North Beach and so forth. And then he said that he was a jock on KMPX in San Francisco, which during the Summer of Love was the alternative new kind of radio station.
Right.
And I noticed that there was a guy on there named Tom Donahue who
he wasn't on KMPX.
Yes, he was. He left on the 5th of August, 1967.
He wasn't on KMPX.
No, it says Tom Donahue cracked open a microphone on KMPX studio, 50 Green Street, firing a figurative shot that echoed across
No. He got
May 5th, 1967.
That's revisionist, because he actually went over to, KSAN and took over KSAN and put the station on there. I don't think it was KMPX. KMPX, the whole format of KMPX was started, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name, by this announcer who at midnight just said to the station, "Do you really care what I do here?" And they went, "No, we don't give a shit." So he started playing alternative music, and that became so popular, it became, then Tom Donahue may have gone over to KMPX for a short time, but wait a minute, but this other guy started the whole thing.
Jack said he left the day Tom Donahue came on. Yeah. And so
anyway, then Tom Donahue left and took the whole I'm trying to tell you the story. I think he took the whole crew from KMPX over to KSAN, and then he ran the roost over there.
Now, is that the same Tom Donahue, your first wife?
No, that was Troy Donahue.
Troy Donahue, Tom Donahue, Troy Donahue. Okay, same.
He's got a Don.
No, that's why I was wondering if that was the same. Troy.
There's a difference between Troy Donahue, who was a heartthrob in the movies in the 60s, and Tom Donahue, who weighed 400 fucking pounds. And one night he was so drunk he passed out on my girlfriend's bed, and we had to literally pick him up and take him to the door. All right.
Now, how did you do that without a crane?
Believe me, I think I still have a torn vertebrae or something from that. Yeah.
I just thought that was very. You see, I wasn't here in the summer of love. I was about 4 years too young, and so I moved here in the end of '73, beginning of '74, and
well, you see, here's what happened. Okay. Yeah. And it could be that Donnie went over to KMPX for a short time, but then he went over and took over, I think, KSAN. And I remember KMPX was owned by a guy by the name of Lee Crosby, who I used to work with at KTIM in San Rafael when he was Country Lee Crosby, and we used to nickname him Cunt. And he had a country and western show, and then he bought a radio station, and it became very popular because they were doing that kind of music. But then Tom Donnie, who created the dissension, took the staff he wanted and moved them over to another station. But the thing was about Tom Donnie, there were a couple of jocks, Tom Donahue and Bob Mitchell, who were probably the two best disc jockeys I ever heard in my life. All right? I mean, disc jockeys, not talk show hosts, not radio personalities, disc jockeys. And there were a few other people over at KYA in San Francisco. A guy by the name of Peter Tripp. I'm trying to remember who another guy was over there as well. But where they got them, what happened was the station KYA didn't have any kind of real good staff. They wanted to go to start playing rock and roll and stuff, and they didn't have good disc jockeys. And then they heard about all these guys out on the East Coast who were losing their jobs because they were accused of taking payola. So they offered them a job. And so Donahue had been fired for payola. Bob Mitchell had been fired payola. And they all went to KYA in San Francisco. So these big payola guys are sitting there in San Francisco, probably doing the same fucking thing they were doing out on the East Coast. Yeah. But, and then, of course, he then went, but he did not come up with the format. Oh. And a revisionist history is that he did because he kept promoting that.
I see.
Yeah.
Well,
since I haven't gotten a call from Jack yet about this, I guess I'm somewhat right on this deal. Well, here, he's coming online now. He's probably going to call. He probably can remember who the guy was that actually started playing alternative music on KMPX.
It was Jack.
Huh?
It was Jack.
It might have been Jack, Yeah. I mean, he was there close to the beginning. I bet he's going to call. I'm waiting for it. But he's probably the only authority here that we've got, because I wasn't there either. I was already here on the where was I? I think it was in Houston, Texas when that whole thing started. By the time it really had ginned up, I was already in New York, and it was a whole different scene here in New York. In New York and San Francisco, and it's like never the twain shall meet. I never even knew the Haight-Ashbury thing. Because I was here in New York, and it was a whole different thing. Well, here we go. Here comes Jack. Jack, correct me on history, okay? Jack, are you there?
Is this the living legend?
Yes, it is. But we want you to clear up this history.
We're talking about her KMPX. Somebody's.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. There's slapback going on. Okay, now it's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, I have only waited 50 years for this conversation.
I was glad to start it.
I have only waited 50 years.
Yeah.
Okay. To kind of fill you in on this part of the story that I know, Alex is absolutely right. Lee Crosby bought this FM radio station, and I had gotten fired from one of the R&B stations, because back then, if you were black, you worked in black radio, more than likely. I only knew two guys at that time that didn't.
Yeah.
Somebody said it was on the other end of the dial one night there, the black stations, right?
No.
KDIA.
AM dial.
KDIA was at 1310.
Yeah.
The station that I was at, KSOL.
Right, KSOL.
Who had a young guy named Sly Stone also. Yeah. We were at 1450. Well, I get fired because one of the other disc jockeys had a girl in the studio one night, and I dropped by to take a pee before driving down the peninsula to see a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And the owner came in also to take a pee, and he assumed the girl was with me because she was black, and the jock that was on the air was white.
Okay.
And perished the thought that some white guy would screw this black groupie that would show up.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew the program director of KMPX, a guy named Bob Postel.
Right.
And
I know that name.
You know, I told him that I was looking for a gig, and he says, "Well, hey, we got something. Come on over here and do."
Okay, but now since we don't have that much time, I want to get to the main part of the story.
All right.
Not about how you got hired, which I think is an interesting story in and of itself.
All right.
But
there was a guy named.
Who was the guy who did it at midnight?
Yeah.
And he was the guy that literally invented alternative radio.
No. You're thinking of Larry Miller.
I'm thinking of Larry Miller. That's what I'm thinking.
Larry Miller did not invent it. Here's what happened. There was a guy named who was doing overnights who was a big R&B fan.
Mm-hmm.
And he was excited that I was over there. And I said to him, look, you got two major R&B stations in the market. If you want to make some noise, you got to do something else. You know, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, you know, I'm going to State at that time, State College.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, people on campus are listening to Dylan and the Beatles and the Byrds. And I said, I got some albums. I'll give them to you. And you start playing them. And I can't think of the guy's name. He'd just gotten out of the Air Force.
Okay, but I always heard that Larry Miller is the guy that made it popular then.
Now, Larry Miller is the guy that made it popular.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And
albums.
Yeah, and I was doing mornings by then, and Larry and myself talked Crosby into letting him do what he was already doing, and for me to do 6 to 10, doing the same thing.
Okay, now how did Donahue get into all of that?
All right, real simple. One day I'm getting off from the 6 to 10 shift. Donahue is in the lobby. The sales manager, a guy named Ron Hunt, said to me, "Hey, do you know this guy, Tom Donahue?" And I said, "Yeah, he's one of the biggest jocks in this town." And he had retired. He had promoted the last 4 Beatle concerts in America.
Yep.
Had a shitload of money.
Yep. But I think he quit KYA in a dispute over pay and so on.
Well, it's all I knew.
He and Bob Mitchell
was he quit YA the night after the Beatles played in L.A. And he came in.
Also, by the way, those concerts were produced not only by Donahue, but by Bob Mitchell as well.
Yeah. Because Mitchell and Donahue weren't just friends; they were business partners.
Right.
And Donahue came into YA the night after the L.A. concert and said, as only he could say, and I wish I could imitate his voice because it was one of the greatest voices ever in radio.
Well, these guys were great jocks. They were just great jocks. Yeah.
He said, "It has dawned on me that I am fabulously wealthy." And he said to
he still had a lot of that payola money from the East Coast too.
Oh, yes. And he said to his engineer, because they had engineers at YA, "Play a record. I'm going home," and walked out. And was off the air for a year. And as you said, Donahue weighed about 400 pounds. I got stoned with him and some guys from the Grateful Dead one night up in Marin, and Donahue started crying like a baby, telling everybody, "Oh, I'm an awful person," and wanted to turn himself into the police, and we had to restrain him. And if you were trying to restrain a strong 400-pound man,
believe me, I tried to literally had to get that guy off of my girlfriend's bed so we could use it, and he was passed out. He was passed out. Stone cold fucking.
I wondered how he and Rachel did it.
Rachel was his wife, and she was a very attractive woman.
Yes.
And small and petite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She had to be on top all the time because he'd have killed her otherwise. Well, anyway, he shows up at the radio station. He gets into a meeting with Ron Hunt and Lee Crosby, and I'm hanging around because
Okay, speed this thing up because you know.
So they come out of the meeting and they asked me, "Do you think this guy could do for us what he says he can do?" I said, "If he can't do it, nobody else can, because he's got all the great contacts." And that was the story. Now, I had already turned in my resignation to go to Houston because I wanted to be a program director. Plus, I wanted to buy a new car. And they were only paying.
So you left. Basically, you left at the wrong time.
The story of my life. I've either stayed too long or left too soon.
Am I right? He then took everybody out of there, made them go on strike against Crosby, and took them over to KSAN, right?
Yeah, about 6 months later.
Yeah.
He took them to.
But by no means did Tom Donahue invent alternative radio. Yeah. But he told everybody he did.
Well, there are a couple of guys walking around the country saying I did, and I said my idea was based on what I was reading about in the trades about WOR FM in New York and what Scott Muni and Bill Roscoe were doing.
Bill Mercer. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just reading about this, and it sounds like a good idea to me because, as you and I know, there are no new ideas in this business.
Well, I don't want to bore people with old radio stories, but this is an interesting one because it was how that whole thing of alternative rock, progressive rock radio came into being. Did anybody you find this interesting, guys? I am sorry we took.
I do, but I live here.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the players that it's second generation now. Like David, who worked for Bill Graham, and and Jim Marshall, who was a mentor of mine photography wise, who photographed the last Beatles concert at Candlestick Park, and he had exclusive.
It wasn't Candlestick Park. It was at the Cow Palace.
Really? I thought it was Candlestick Park.
Nah, Cow Palace.
Here's something, just a quick side thing here, because we have to get going off anyway in a moment. But when we say the name the Cow Palace, forget about guys in California. What does that engender? What kind of image does that engender when I say, the Beatles played the Cow Palace? Because when I was a kid, wait a minute, Patrick.
Sounds like something that should come out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly.
Texas, man, Texas.
Or Texas or something like that. Yeah. I said when I was a kid, I said that's a really stupid name for a place, because we just said we're going to the Cow Palace. We're going to see a show at the Cow Palace, and I went, they should change it, give it a decent name. Use the French and call it the Palais du Vache.
It looks like a giant a hangar or Quonset hut.
Hey, I know you got to get going here, Jack. Otherwise, you're not going to get on right after us. But thank you.
Well, this was, like I said, I waited 50 years to hear this conversation.
Okay, well,
be a part of it.
You had to hear it on my show. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye. Jack's on next with Amy. But the Palais du Vache. I always felt when I tell people, "Hey, we're going to the Cow Palace," they go like, "What? What? The Cow Palace?" And I'd say,
they did the Republican National Convention.
I worked the
Eisenhower.
Yes, I worked that for CBS. I was a page boy.
Wow.
That was the first time I ever saw it.
Yeah, that was the Cow Palace as well.
I saw a rodeo there.
Huh?
My ex-wife and kids, we all went to a rodeo.
Well, hopefully you would see a rodeo at the Cow Palace.
Cow Palace.
I mean, what else would go on in the Cow Palace but a rodeo? We got to get going here. Thank you, Phil, very much. Good show tonight, by the way. And of course, Johnny, thank you. Patrick, always a pleasure to see the man who keeps us honest. And of course, Charlene, thank you, and Jeff, wonderful. Are you in Florida?
No.
Because you're in a different room tonight, and I
just switched 90 degrees. That's all.
You know who I talked to today, and I guess I'll talk about it maybe tomorrow. I talked to Albert. He's living down in Florida now, and I talked to him today, and I'll tell you all about it. Anyway, hey, listen, I got to go. Everybody, why don't you wave a big wave goodbye so these people can see your happy faces and remember them. And I hope we'll see you all again tomorrow night. I'm Alex Bennett. That's it for the Citizens panel. As I hang up on them and get this all ready so the next show can use the Skype lines. But we'll be back again to let's see here. Tomorrow night. Well, next is Jack Bishop and Amy Manuel and the Intersection, and right after that is Connections at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It'll be daylight starting next week. And then let's see here. Oh, then tomorrow night at 9:30, Damien is here with the Exchange, and I will be here at 10 o'clock with the Ramble. In the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same station in life. And as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye.